If you are here for the Colorado Gives training with Next After, you're in the right Zoom room. If this is not what you expected to hear, then you might have clicked the wrong link on your calendar. All right, I'm seeing it settle down a little bit here for the people joining. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump into today's training. Welcome to 3 key online fundraising metrics. That's the topic we're going to be discussing for today's Level Up training. It is so good to see you all bright and early today. I hope your week is going well. I'm calling you today from Harpers Ferry, West Virginia, where it has been rainy all week and will be rainy till this weekend. So if you go out on my back deck, you can hear the mountain rain just cascading down towards the Shenandoah River. I hope you all are enjoying this transition we have from spring to summer. If this is your first time in a few training sessions joining us, you might be wondering who this guy is, because I am not Nathan Hill, who kicked off the trainings with you last year. My name is Artie Coolidge. I'm the Vice President of Client Services here at Next After. I served in nonprofits like yours for over 10 years before joining Next After and serving nonprofits in a different way via our work to decode generosity through A/B testing and learning, and share that knowledge with as many nonprofits as possible. I love getting to work with Colorado Gives. I think it's fantastic, the resources you have. I did not have these resources when I was working at the 3 nonprofits I worked at, and I would have killed to get access to them. So I just am so grateful for this opportunity. And today, to kick off our discussion, I thought we'd start with an icebreaker. Where are you going for summer vacation? That's right, friends. We're already halfway through May. So I'd love to see it in the chat. I'm going to open up the chat here. So go ahead and chat it. Where are you going for summer vacation? I love seeing where people have. Maybe you're staying at home. Maybe you're going globe traveling and crossing the pond, as they say. My wife and I are excited because we're taking our kids into DC for the 4th of July. So that's going to be part of their summer vacation. Oh, wow. I've never heard of that mountain town. Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to have to look that up. Colorado is gorgeous, though. That's actually where Nathan, the former trainer, lives. Estes Park. Congratulations, Morgan. Let's give her a round of applause. That's so exciting. Great reason for a summer vacation, a wedding. Shauna says, too busy during the summer, so no vacation. I am so sorry to hear that, Shauna. I hope you're able to at least take a long weekend at some point. We do have Memorial Day coming up. Tara is going to a lake in New York. Heather is going to Italy. Congratulations, Heather. That sounds amazing. I have not yet been to Italy, but it is on my bucket list. I've heard the gelato there is better than anywhere, so. Joel is going to go to Ireland this fall. Joel, I did Ireland last year with my wife. You will absolutely love it if you've never been before. Sheen Falls Lodge is in Killarney National Park and is a breathtaking spot if you're looking for a place to spend a night. Sheen Falls, beautiful place in Ireland. And then Steven's going to Philadelphia, New Jersey, and NYC. That sounds great, Steven. Sounds like you're doing a nice East Coast road trip there. Excellent, friends. I love hearing where people are going and seeing where they're spending their time. Something that I have realized, and I tell my team as many times as I can, is that our best work often is connected with a rhythm of being able to work hard and also rest. Our bodies, our minds need that. They need that opportunity to get out of the normal flow and to just think and strategize and see things. I can't tell you how many times when I have stepped away from the desk, taken a walk outside here on the mountain, I get new ideas and new insights into things to use to motivate my donors to give. So hopefully this little icebreaker is a reminder just for all of us to always be prioritizing and thinking through those opportunities for rest and reflection. All right. So today, a few housekeeping things. What you should expect from today's session is, first, understanding the 3 key metrics that drive your fundraising success. There are a lot of other metrics that matter, and we could spend a lot of workshops talking about them, but there's really 3 foundational metrics that are the basic metrics for determining the success of your Colorado Gives Day campaign. 2, we want to know how to evaluate your past Give Day success to create meaningful goals for 2025. And then 3, and this is most importantly, you're going to use your gives.org and your Google Analytics data to analyze those 3 metrics so you know how to make this year the best Colorado Gives Day ever. Throw up an emoji if this is your first ever Colorado Gives Day campaign. You've never done one before. I'm just curious. You can throw up any emoji. I'm not seeing any coming up on the screen. So all of you are Colorado Gives Day veterans. Fantastic. That means you're going to be able to use all of this to measure last year's success to show you where to optimize for this year. All right. What are those 3 metrics that control digital fundraising revenue? I'm going to throw up an image on the screen. Does anyone recognize this movie? If you know what this movie's from, throw it in the chat. What movie is this from? That's right, Shauna. Back to the Future. Classic movie. And if you watch Back to the Future, you know that this amazing DeLorean that's so much more than a cool looking car that actually can transport itself back in time was created to do so using a very special tool. And that was the flux capacitor right here. That was the thing that energized it. Well, we're nerds here at Next After, and we love Back to the Future. We actually have an annual viewing party of this movie. And this year, our annual nonprofit summit, the theme is actually Back to the Future, because again, it's one of our core things we love. And we see in this flux capacitor a nice analogy, if you will, for the 3 metrics that really determine the success of your Colorado Gives Day campaign. Let me explain. There are only 3 ways that you can really increase the revenue for Colorado Gives Day. And that is by looking at traffic, conversion rate, and average gift. So we're going to start with that first one, traffic. You need to get more people to your website. For Colorado Gives Day, you need to get more people onto your Colorado Gives Day donation page. And if you get more people, that's going to impact your online revenue. So the first metric we need to understand is this metric of traffic. The second is conversion rate. Now, what I mean by conversion rate is the percentage of those visitors who are on your donation page, on your website, who then donate. They convert from a mere visitor to a donor. That's your conversion rate. That is the second metric you need to understand, and we're going to walk through how to do that today so you know how to improve Colorado Gives Day performance. And the third is you need to inspire those that give to you to be more generous. You need to inspire those giving to be more generous, and that is your average gift. So 3 metrics: traffic, conversion rate, average gift. Those are the 3 metrics that make up the flux capacitor of online revenue maximization. Those are the 3 metrics that are going to determine how successful your Gives Day campaign is. And what's really cool about these 3 metrics is when you optimize one of them, you get more money. But when you optimize more than one, you get exponentially more money. Let me show you what I mean. So now we're going to have some fun with numbers. I know it's a little early in the morning for numbers, but I think this is a pretty cool mini spreadsheet to look at. Let's say that you have a massive Colorado Gives Day website, a huge one that you're getting tons of traffic to. All right. And you had 100,000 visits. All right. That's your web traffic number right here. Let's say 2% of those convert to donors. That's your conversion rate. The average gift is $70. That means you would have a revenue of $140,000 because revenue, simple formula, revenue equals traffic times conversion rate times average gift. Revenue equals how much traffic you have times the conversion rate of that traffic times the average gift. Everyone following? All right. What happens if we improve conversion by 26% in one area? Now, you might be looking at this and going, 26% improvement. That's a significant improvement. And you're right, it is. But we're going to see in tests how that's easier to do than you might expect, depending on what you're testing. But let's say we just improve our conversion rate by 26%. Now we have a 2.52% conversion rate. Our revenue jumped 36 $6,000 just by improving conversion rate. Do you see that? But what if we actually have a 26% improvement in 2 areas? So we not only improve conversion rate by 26%, but we improve website traffic by 26%. So we're improving the number of people visiting and the percentage of those people visiting who turn into donors. If we do that, we actually have a 59% improvement in revenue, and we've gone from 140,000 to 222,000 in revenue. But that's only 2 of the 3. What if we find a way to improve all 3 metrics? Traffic, conversion rate, and average gift. Well, that is when you have now doubled your Colorado Gives Day revenue. That sounds like going back to the future, doesn't it? And yes, this is hard to do. I'll be honest. Improving all 3 areas takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of testing. But I love showing where we're trying to get, because for me, that's what inspires me every day, is knowing what's possible. The more I unlock and decode about the reason my donors give through the tests that I run on my website, on my emails, all these tests designed to either improve conversion rate, traffic, or average gift. All right. And I should have said, as questions are popping up as we're going through this, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll also be discussing questions at the end. We'll have plenty of time for questions, but as you're thinking through this, would love to hear if there are any questions that come up. So then, how do you optimize your upcoming Colorado Gives Day campaign? This is what I would say. We need a strategic framework. And when it comes to increasing your online revenue, there's 3 primary strategies. The first is you can increase the traffic to it. So if you want to get more money for this year's Colorado Gives Day campaign, the first thing you should think about is how you're going to get more people to visit the page. All right. So think here of clicks. And these clicks could be on anything from an email to an ad to your social channels, like a tweet. It could be clicks on a homepage banner that you're running. All of these are sources to get your traffic. And here's some tests to show you what can happen to your conversion rate when you just make small, subtle changes designed to increase traffic to the site. So here's a control experiment. This was from the Fund for American Studies. They were promoting an ebook, Capitalism, Socialism, the Arguments for Liberty. Get your free ebook now. This was a Facebook ad. The primary purpose of the Facebook ad is to produce traffic to the landing page where they're promoting this ebook. If you were in our prior content offer workshop, you know that when you signed up for that ebook, you would get a donation page. So this also impacted donations. Well, they tested a treatment against it that left everything the same, but added the face of the person whose content made up the ebook. In this case, Senator Rand Paul. And they started the ad with a new ebook by U.S. Senator Rand Paul. They left all the other copy below that, but as the hook, they said a new ebook by U.S. Senator Rand Paul. All right. Their hypothesis was their ideal donor, their ideal clicker on this ad was someone who would have affinity for Senator Paul, be interested in his content. What was the result? 59% increase in clicks. So remember the power of just increasing conversion rate by 26%, right? And increasing traffic by 26%. They increased traffic by 59% by simply changing the image and adding 1 sentence of copy. Fascinating, right? But that's not the only place you can test this. Here's a website, Dear Ask, or I should say Dear Reader Ask, okay? And what this is when you are reading a website and you have at the bottom of the page something that asks you as a reader to make a donation. And this was from Minnesota Public Radio. And it says, the trustworthy and factual news you find here at NPR News relies on the generosity of readers like you. Your donation ensures that our journalism remains available to all, connecting communities and facilitating better conversations for everyone. Will you make a gift today to help keep this trusted news source accessible? Donate now. Very straightforward. You've probably seen this on The Guardian or NBC or CNN or Fox News or other news journalism websites. But they decided to test something different, and they decided to test a content offer instead. Now, what is a content offer? A content offer is what we've discussed in our last 2 sessions. This is something of value that people are receiving for free in exchange for their email address. So a content offer could be a pledge, it could be an ebook, it could be a quiz, could be a guide, like a tourism guide. It's something that aligns with your mission and your values and your donor's mission and values, and helps the donor experience what you produce of value for your community. So they offered a content offer here as a Dear Reader. And they said, Dear Reader, political debates with family and friends can get heated, but what if there was a way to handle them better? You can learn how to have civil political conversations with our new ebook. Download our free ebook, Talking Sense, Have Hard Political Conversations Better, and learn how to talk without the tension. Get your free ebook. Anyone here interested in that topic? I know I would be, right? It's amazing how tense conversations about politics can be. And for NPR, they believe, they hypothesize their readers would be more likely interested in that than just suddenly giving a donation. So what happened? When they tested this, they had a 733% increase in clicks. Not 100%, not 200%, 733%. That means their visitors were 733% more likely to click something offering them something of value before asking for a donation versus clicking on something asking for a donation. So as you're thinking about your upcoming Colorado Gives Day campaign, don't neglect to think about ways you can leverage the content offer you've already created through this course and training to drive engagement and clicks and traffic for the campaign. Here's another test, all about trying to get more traffic. This one's on Facebook as well. This was the Hoover Institute. They had a quote in this ad creative: spending is the real issue, not how we finance it, but the fact we're spending too much. All right, that was their control, a quote. But then they tested a treatment with a question. All the ad copy is the same, the CTA headline's the same, but look at this ad creative change. It was a question of what happens if up to 40% of your tax dollars go towards interest payments on the national debt. Ooh, very interesting. What would motivate more engagement? A quote or a thought-provoking question? Well, they found they got 24% more clicks on the ad when they posed a question. And think about it. Which of these two is more likely to stop you scrolling and get you thinking? Is it this one? Or is it this one? I think it's the treatment, because this makes me want to know what the answer is. It sparks curiosity. And one of the primary motivators of clicking on anything is curiosity. We know this from YouTube, right? When Mr. Beast releases a new video and you have that little image there in YouTube, my kids go crazy for him, right? You see that image and it's like, spent 100 days in an Egyptian tomb or something crazy like that. Sparks interest, sparks curiosity. They did that here and they increased their traffic significantly. Here's a test from an NPR affiliate. On their control, they had Wolf Hall, The Mirror and the Light, Dear Friend. This was the header of an email. So they had links at the header of their email. They decided to test it against one that actually had a prioritized list of things that would be interesting for them. Actually, I'm sorry, I said NPR affiliate. This is a PBS affiliate, OPB. What to watch, read, and explore this week. And then they had it all broken out. So it's really a menu of options at the top of their weekly email. And they were just asking, can we get more engagement like this? What they found is, yes, they got a 30% increase in clicks. This is another experiment on email that did the exact same thing. Here you see the top of the email was, your insights will help shape the future of power to change students. Take our survey today. Then you had your email body here. They tested against a plain text email. Very, very different. And they wanted to see, would we get more engagement on this plain text email, inviting someone to take a survey, than this one that was heavily templated? The answer was yes, 64% more clicks. The hypothesis being people are more likely to engage with people. This feels more personal, relatable. This just feels like another marketing message in my inbox. Ducks Unlimited tested how to get more traffic in their email. They had Ducks Unlimited newsletter, adapting to spring as their control, and they used their basic conversational language. And they wanted to see if something that was, shall we say, more clicky would engage. readers more. And what do I mean by clicky? Kind of that clickbait approach. So I'll read the language here. What sets elite waterfowlers apart? What they're doing right now. While the average hunter waits for fall, the serious ones use spring to level up. Out on the breeding grounds, duck and geese are getting to work, and you should be too. Work on your gear, sharpen your call, train your dog, experiment in the kitchen. And with Earth Day around the corner, now's the time to make habitat work part of your spring ritual. And then even the links change. So like on the control, they have 10 spring projects for waterfowlers, just a very straightforward headline for an article. Instead, real waterfowlers do this. The implication being, if you're not doing it, you're not a real waterfowler. Or instead of improve your calling now, call like a pro this fall. So their social media team hypothesized that if they made their emails sound more clickbaity, they would get more clicks. Pretty straightforward hypothesis. When they tested it, they actually got 20% fewer clicks. And they realized that that tactic may work in some social channels, but it did not work for their email audience. Their email audience actually resonated with a more professional tone. And this is why you got to test to see what your audience likes. Here was a test by Caring Bridge, and this is a mobile view of options on their website. So if you're on a Caring Bridge website and you click the little hamburger menu, you get all this menu of options: create a post, add a co-author, share my page, ways to help, page settings. They hypothesized that it might be better to just have all those options as a fixed menu bar below. So as you scroll on a mobile device, this was here instead of buried in the hamburger menu. Does that make sense? When they just made this simple design change to their mobile experience, they increased clicks 131%. Just by making it visible, making it easy to engage with. Now, this is just a small sampling of hundreds of tests in our free Winston library of what organizations like you have done to increase traffic. And I hope with these tests, it's gotten your creative juices flowing and you're thinking through what you could test, how you could get your subscribers or your social media visitors to be more engaged with your content. Because if you can increase traffic for this year's Colorado Gives Day campaign, you will also increase revenue. So that's the first thing to our framework. How are we going to increase traffic? The second part is increasing the conversion rate. We want more people not just to visit, but to say yes. Think of this as completions. And someone might be thinking, is it just donor conversion rate? No, it's all forms of conversion rate. So if you have a content offer before the donation page, you want to increase the conversion rate on that. So you want to think, how can I get more people to sign up? So I'm just going to show you a sampling of tests from our library that will hopefully inspire you with easy ways you can start testing and unlocking higher conversion rates with your visitors. So here's the control page for the Leadership Institute. You can see really wide, basic form. Their new page was much more streamlined, much easier to scroll, especially on a mobile device. And most importantly, take a look. Instead of just donate to Leadership Institute, your generous donation supports and equips activists who will make a difference. We actually gave them value proposition for why they should give. And we've talked a lot about value proposition over the last 11 months together because it's so key to every part of your marketing funnel. When they did this, Leadership Institute got 135% more donations. And I'm going to blow up now on screen so you can see the difference in value prop. The Leadership Institute is America's #1 training organization for conservative. Leadership Institute graduates and supporters understand that political success over time is determined by the number and effectiveness of conservative activists. It's not enough to talk good ideas. We must contend for them in the public sphere. If you're the Leadership Institute's ideal donor, do you see how this language is designed to resonate with your desires? Now, if you're looking at this and you don't agree with Leadership Institute's politics, that's great, because there are a lot of donors who don't either. And there's a lot of great organizations that do what Leadership Institute does, but from a liberal stance politically. The same tactic, based on our research, works regardless of which side of the political aisle you're on. Because what the tactic shows is your ideal donor needs to be reminded why a gift to you makes their vision of the world a more likely outcome, their desire for the world a more likely possibility. And that's what Leadership Institute tapped into. And what's amazing here is, and we've talked about this before, but I just want to reemphasize it. All of this copy is above the fold, if you will. You have to scroll to get to the donation form, and they still got 135% more donations. And the reason for that is we were telling the donor why give, why now, and what my impact will be. And if you can do that for your donors, you will unlock higher donor conversion as well. Save the Children. They do amazing work. They're an incredible brand. There's very few nonprofits that have the name recognition that Save the Children has. And they wanted to test the following. Today, your gift can have a 10x the impact. Donate now. And then underneath that, they have the rest of their website. And that's their control experience. But for their treatment, they added a giving widget that began the donation process. And it says, today, your gift can have 10x the impact. One time monthly, suggested gift amount, other amount, donate now. And if you clicked this, it wouldn't process your gift, but would lead you to the donation page to complete it. By simply doing this on their homepage, they increased donations 54% because they gave donors an opportunity to understand clearly what type of gift they can make, to have autonomy before they click donate now on what type of donation they want to make. Maybe the donor wants to make a monthly gift. Maybe they want a one-time gift. We're now giving them the option to select, right? All of that combined increased donor conversion 54%. Here was Moody Radio, a broadcast organization, for their year-end December campaign. They had this donation page with the theme Hope is Born. They had the same headline. They decided, what would happen if we tested a progress bar to show how close they were to reaching the goal for the campaign? And they did it using their brand colors. And when they did this, they increased donations 24%. Just a simple design change for the donor page. So these are just some ideas for ways that you can begin testing right now how to increase the conversion rate of visitors to donors or visitors to subscribers on your website. The final thing then that we want to improve is increasing average gift. So we already talked about getting people to say yes. Average gift is about saying heck yes. It's the difference between me saying I'm going to give Shauna and her nonprofit $10 versus I'm going to give Shauna and her nonprofit $100, right? And think about the causes you support. Do you tend to give bigger gifts to the organizations you don't understand much about? You don't know how your gift is going to make a tangible impact. You don't know where it's going to go. Of course not. Typically, the more you know about an organization and the more you see that that organization aligns with your values, the more you want to give them. And this is the powerful thing about a donation. Just to pause here for a moment. So it's something I've been talking a lot internally with some nonprofits I work with. But donations don't have a price. Have you ever thought about that? So this insulated mug here had a price, right? And you might look at it and in your mind, you have a high bar limit of how much you'd be willing to pay for this insulated mug. I like this insulated mug. It does a great job. But when I die, I'm not going to leave a bequest to Bison Mugs or whoever made this in my will, giving them part of my estate because of how much I love their mug. But yet people do that every single day for nonprofits because nonprofits don't have a price, because you can't put a price on what a nonprofit is able to do, the change they can unleash, the lives that are saved and transformed. That's what's so powerful about the work you get to do every day. So here's some tests just to inspire you on ways you can encourage and equip your donors to give a higher average gift. In general, the stronger your value proposition is, the higher the average gift will be. But here's some simple tactics. A $5 minimum versus a $10 minimum. That was it. They just increased the minimum gift from $5 to $10. They increased revenue per visitor 127%. Caring Bridge unlocked greater value by testing directly into the value proposition, like I just said, of the gift. So here are three things they tried. Their whole experience was honor Cade and Kaylin with a donation to Caring Bridge. Who are Cade and Kaylin, you ask? On Caring Bridge's website, you would see this when you landed on a friend or family member's page in Caring Bridge. that was sharing their journey with chronic illness. So in this test, the page you're landed on was Cade and Kaylin's page. All right. So they decided to reverse the order. Cade's Caring Bridge site is supported by generous donors like you. Make a donation to Caring Bridge in honor of Cade. So they reversed the order of the ask. Treatment 2 said the impact of the site. Help Cade stay connected to family and friends. Make a donation to Caring Bridge to keep Cade's site running. Treatment 3 had an emotional appeal. Show your love and support for Cade. Make a donation to keep Cade's site up and running. So very different value propositional placements here. 3 different approaches tested. We know the control didn't win, but I'm curious which of these 3 you think led to the highest average gift. So why don't you throw it in the chat? Just type it in. 1, 2, or 3. Let's see. Sean is the first in. She's determined 3. Heather says 3. Anyone else? I love all the people who sit on the fence. They're like, I don't want to really throw myself out there. It's okay. No one's going to score you. I'm just curious. 3, 3, 2, 2. So we've got some 3s. We've got some 2s. All right. No love for number 1 here. Reverse order. Very interesting. No one's thinking reverse order 1. All right. Let's see how you guys did. Treatment 1, reverse order, increased revenue per visitor by 7%. The star means it didn't quite reach statistical level of significance of a greater than 95% level of confidence. Treatment 2, increased revenue by 1%. So actually, several of you said 2. No one said 1. 1 actually outperformed 2. But look at treatment 3. 67% valid increase in revenue per donor. 67%. Why? Well, you remember a moment ago I said donations don't have a price? Can't put a price tag on it. What does treatment 3 say? Show your love and support for Cade. Why am I on this page? Because I love and support Cade. Because Cade is going through something really difficult, something she may not survive. And as a result of that, I'm here to find out about her journey, her health journey, so I can better support her. So doesn't it make sense that the CTA that literally says, show your love and support for Cade, make a donation to keep her site running, would result in 67% more revenue? Because that's the reason I'm there in the first place. Do you see? The reason I think number 2 didn't do well is, yeah, it clarifies the impact. The impact being staying connected to family and friends. But I don't think that's the primary motivation of the person visiting or even the person giving. It's not about staying connected with some vague family or friend that I can't picture. It's about showing support for the person I can, Cade. So this is the power of value propositional testing. And one simple change unlocking exponentially more revenue over time. This is a large ministry out west, focused on the family. They had a control campaign with no sticky bar. They had a treatment campaign where they added a sticky bar saying, will you be one of the 562 donors needed today to strengthen families this Christmas? They gave a specific goal and a counter towards that goal. Remember, we saw that earlier with a broadcast org. This is another broadcast org doing it, 70% more revenue. Dr. Ben Carson has a nonprofit, American Cornerstone Institute. He tested the following on his thank you donation page. So you signed up for his content offer. You got the content offer. This was a donation page that fired afterwards. It had a headline, friend, thank you for adding your name. And that friend would be replaced with my name from the prior page. It passed over. So if I downloaded the resource, it would say, Artie, thank you for adding your name. But the continuation headline that they tested was, Artie, thank you for adding your name. Before you go, would you consider making a gift to my organization? 31% increase in revenue. 31% just by doing that. Control, no suggested gift. How would you like to partner with us? Treatment, $100 suggested gift. leading to a valid 47% increase in donations. Now, this one blows everyone's mind. Absolutely blows minds. Why is it that you got more donations by asking for $100? Well, I think it's because we're giving clarity. We're providing the donor with a suggested amount so they know what a good gift to unleash that impact would be. Just by pre-selecting $100, they got 47% more overall donations, more than leaving it open-ended. And they had a 27% higher average gift. Now, someone might be asking, Artie, when is it appropriate to not suggest a gift amount? And that's a good question. We've had tests with organizations where we found that no gift array actually works better if it's an existing donor that you're emailing. So this is just their main page. So people are coming from all sorts of traffic, and a lot of them are first-time donors. For existing donors, they might already know how much they're used to giving you and how much they want to give. And in those cases, we have seen evidence that having an open field array is better than a suggested gift array. But even there, I would say test it with your organization, because you don't know. All right. How to measure your key metrics. And this is very important. This is a watchword for me in the work I do with clients. I want to ensure that we're optimizing every single day what we do. And Pete Drucker said this, and he's absolutely right. You cannot improve what you can't measure. All right. So if you don't remember anything else from our training today, please remember this. This is why data matters. This is why the fact that you're on Colorado Gives matters, because you have access at your fingertips to data, and we're going to talk about it in a moment. But without that data, you can't improve anything. I once I was in a meeting with a global broadcast organization that has affiliates all around the world. They're involved in radio broadcasts, they're involved in television broadcasts, podcasts. I mean, they're a monolith. And we're meeting with them, and they said, hey, Artie, would you help us strategize around this upcoming campaign? Here's the budget we have for it. I said, I would love to. First question, how did this campaign do last year? Did you run it? They said, yes, we did. I said, great. What's the data? I said, we don't know. I said, you don't know? I said, no. We don't have a way of measuring how last year's campaign did specifically. We know how much money was overall, but we don't know how much was raised by this campaign. And suddenly, we were in a position where we had to try to optimize something in the dark, because we could look at what was run prior year, but without data on how it was engaged with, how do we know what we're fixing? And how do we know what we're breaking? Because it was never broken in the first place, but now we broke it in the name of optimization. So we need to know our numbers. And this is where I have to give a disclaimer. I'm sorry. Take a deep breath. We're about to talk about Google Analytics. Feel free to throw an emoji up if the mention of Google Analytics causes a little twitch at the back of your neck. I'll be honest, it does for me. Google Analytics is not necessarily the most fun thing to be in. When I was working at the 3 nonprofits I worked at, I really did not love having to work in Google Analytics. Thank you, Jordan, right? It's not the most fun thing. But don't worry. Don't worry, Heather. You have resources to make this easy. And the first is Catch a Fire. If you don't have Google Analytics set up for your website, there's literally a Catch a Fire Google Analytics project right there that takes 1 to 2 weeks. Google Analytics reporting. So you don't have any reason to run away from GA anymore. GA being Google Analytics, all right? In fact, if you just say GA when you go into those Catch a Fire meetings, they're going to already assume you're an expert, right? Because now you're just using the shorthand. But you don't need to worry because you have access to this resource. And there are 3 key metrics that we're wanting to know, right? Website traffic, total number of donations, total revenue. Those are the 3 things you need to know. 2 of those 3, you're going to be able to answer with coloradogives.org. Did you know that? Right now, in your coloradogives.org dashboard, you can answer the number of donations and the total revenue that was acquired by last year's campaign. And that is right here. The overview tab gives you basic analytics. All right. And if you toggle this view, you can look at dollars raised, revenue split by campaign, or page views. That's traffic. The reports tab will also give you a detailed look at actual performance. So if you toggle this custom date range field, you can analyze Colorado Gives Day 2024, and it'll give you your total donations and revenue. So right here, even today, you can pull these numbers. So that's the first thing. But what about your overall website traffic? Well, for that, you need Google Analytics 4. And here's a sample Google Analytics report. So there's a lot of numbers here, but what's really cool is it actually breaks this out for you. So you're able to see, we're going to zoom in so you can see this better. You're actually able to see here, if you click on this tab right up here, you're going to be able to see acquisition and then traffic acquisition. So if you go in your Google Analytics report, after your Google Analytics has been set up via Catch-A-Fire, you can click right here, then acquisition, then traffic acquisition. Then up here, you'll see the date range. Caitlin asked a great question. Did I say there's a way for us to measure web traffic? Colorado Gives reports on the users to your campaign pages. So that's your traffic number to a campaign page. But if you're wanting to know the overall traffic to your website, GA4 is the place to go using this approach here. I hope that difference makes sense. So here is where I filter my date range. In this, I was looking at 2023. For you, you're going to want to look at 2024. Then you have sessions. If you're meaning overall, exactly, you cannot see web traffic, Caitlin, to your external site. Only the traffic from your external site to the Colorado Gives page. This is why it's important to use GA4 and marry the data with what's available in Colorado Gives, because then you get a holistic view of your funnel. So sessions means your traffic. This is how many people landed on your site. Now, this is not unique people. It doesn't mean that 57,000 unique people landed on the site. It just means there were 57,000 visits that could be, some of them, from the same person multiple times. All right. And then over here, you have event count, which you can filter to purchase to show you the total number of donations. And this is, we're going to talk about this here in a second. If you have coloradogives.org integrated, you might be thinking, do I? How hard is that to do? The good news is it's really easy to integrate. And this is one of the powerful features of Colorado Gives, is that it integrates directly in GA4 and will populate a purchase event in GA4 every single time Caitlin or Joel or Katie makes a donation. So here's an advanced feature in coloradogives.org's tools. If you go over in coloradogives.org to the integrations tab, you can link your Google Analytics account to Colorado Gives. And then it will trigger donation success on the completion of any single donation to your campaigns. All right. And once integrated, it will push not only donation success, but add to cart. So you're going to know whenever the user adds any campaign to their checkout cart instead of performing a single donation checkout. This allows you to get great visibility into the funnel interactions on your website on Colorado Gives during a campaign. Now, someone looking at this is probably going, Artie, it's still, that's not that simple. I'm still lost on this. And if that's you, I understand. It's perfectly fine. That's why we want to give you even more help. So in addition to the Catch-A-Fire resource that I just mentioned, you have free access to Google Analytics for Nonprofit course taught by one of the best names in the business. This is included in your Next After Institute membership. The trainer on this course has his own online academy. He travels the world. He does teachings. He's spoken at our nonprofit summit every year. At least 2 of the last 5 years. Very well-reviewed speaker. His training cost several $1,000s, but he did the same training for our institute, and it's free to you as a member of this cohort with Level Up. All right. So what's our homework for today? And I'll just headline here and preview. We're going to have a lot of time for questions. I wanted that for this meeting because we've done a lot of heavy homework weeks the last few months together. And it has taken, I know, a lot of time for you to put together your emails, your landing pages, your content offers. And I want to make sure that as we're nearing the end of our time together and Level Up, you are fully equipped to achieve the best successes and revenue results you've ever seen for Colorado Gives Day. And so we have reserved a lot of time today for Q&A. But before we do that, I just want to highlight your homework. And again, there are no grades, all right? There's no grades for what we're going to be doing here. The first thing you're going to do is find these metrics in coloradogives.org and Google Analytics. And this is going to be a spreadsheet that I'm going to show you how to access. But you're going to get this spreadsheet and you're going to answer, how many visitor sessions did you have during year end? And it says 2023. I apologize. That's a typo. It's year end 2024. How many donations did you have? How much revenue did you have? And then, and I'll get that typo fixed today so that when you open that spreadsheet, it doesn't confuse you. And then you're going to answer the metrics data. All right, plug in your answers, and it's going to automatically calculate what your traffic conversion rate and average gift is. You don't need to do any math. Anyone love that? Not having to do math? The worksheet does it for you. So when you populate number of sessions, number of donations, and amount of revenue from your Colorado Gives reporting, it's going to tell you what your current metrics are. And then it will give you your calculated metrics here. And you can do this both for Gives Day and year end. And this is important. Why is this important? Because Colorado Gives Day is just one part of your year end fundraising season, which runs all the way to December 31st. Did you know that during year end fundraising, the average nonprofit brings in over 30% of their annual revenue? We're trained. It's amazing what has happened over decades in the US, but we're trained as donors to know that the end of the year means we need to support our nonprofits and the organizations we love. And as a result, most of the giving falls in those last 39, 40 days of the year. So Colorado Gives Day and year end are both here, so you can measure both of them. Now you're wondering, where do I get that spreadsheet? You're just going to scan this, and it's going to ask if you want to make a copy of the document. And if you say yes, you'll have your own spreadsheet. Once you have your own spreadsheet, make it your own with your numbers. And then I would love for you to share it with us in Slack. This is even easier than having to upload something. Just go into Slack homework channel and tell us where you need to focus most. Is it getting more people to show up or getting more people to convert? Now, if you're still feeling lost in this data, don't worry. There's resources here for you. Find a Catch a Fire volunteer to help you set up your property, integrate it with coloradogives.org, and help you find your key metrics. This is why that Catch a Fire community is so good. Yes, Stephen, I will post that. I'm going to update that spreadsheet just so it doesn't say 2023. I'm sorry for that typo. And the links will still stay the same, but I will share that link then in the homework Slack so everyone has it. What about other resources? Well, there's an entire course on the 3 digital metrics. And this is taught by Next After's president, Jeff Giddens, How to Grow a Digital Fundraising Program. The entire course, it's different than the other ones in our institute. It's actually taught on a see-through whiteboard, if you will. So the camera is in front and he's like literally just drawing all of this out so you can see it. It's really fun. It's an easy course, but a powerful course. You will be able to dive deeper on all these metrics. This and all of your courses are still available at this QR code. And if you want to access your Colorado Gives resources for Level Up, just scan this QR code. They are there for you 24/7, so you can continue to grow and learn on everything we've discussed. And don't forget to embed your donation form so you can streamline your upcoming campaign. And if you've lost track of the Slack that everyone's been talking about, just scan this QR code and you'll be able to access it. So now, as I promised, we get to, I think, one of the best time periods we have for Q&A. And I reserved this as a longer period with intentionality, because those three metrics, once you set out to find them using GA, using your Colorado Gives reporting, it won't take you long. And you'll begin seeing what your rates look like for last year and begin deciding where you're going to prioritize. What takes the most work is actually then deciding what to test or how to test it. And so I want to open up the door. You have my time, you have Jordan's, you have your fellow Level Up attendees today, their time, so we can ideate and brainstorm together, so you are able to ensure that this year's campaign is your most successful yet. So whether you want to put your question in the chat or you want to come on camera, I love seeing y'all's faces. I'm an extrovert, if that's not obvious yet. And it's always more fun when I can connect that way visually, but happy to answer any questions in Slack or over camera.
Well, I'll kick us off, and I'm sorry for being a little bit late. This is Jordan, everybody. Hi, I really loved this webinar. We had a question from folks about the membership, so the advanced access to all of those videos in Next After. After today and the program closes in June, will we still be able to access those, and will it change at all as far as how to access those?
That's a great question. It will not change. I'll work with our team. I'll connect with our marketing team, and we'll make sure that anyone in Level Up has continued access for 6 months post our partnership.
Perfect.
So,
thank you.
Of course, no, we're happy to. Listen, our mission is to not only decode why people give, but share it with as many nonprofits as possible. We didn't create the Institute, frankly, to add to our revenue stream. So we are happy to extend that free experience for you all. So you'll get an additional 6 months from the conclusion of this Level Up training to go in there and access any of the courses so you can continue to learn. Great question, Jordan. And if you are working through, I know there was a lot of homework the last 2 webinars we had. If you're still working through that homework and you're hitting a roadblock and you're like, how do I get past this? Or maybe you're just having conversations with your leadership about getting a content offer created and you're hitting roadblocks. Would love to hear about that. I'm going to start with Heather and then I'll go to the chat. Heather.
Hello. How are you?
Doing well. Great to see you.
You too. So I will just give a plug for GA4 is like something I still don't totally understand, but I did get somebody through Catch a Fire to set the whole thing up for me, I don't know, last year. I still don't understand it, but it's up and running and it's connected to Colorado Gives, so that's awesome. My question for you is, could you go back and show where in GA4, just for my own knowledge of like what the heck we're supposed to look at and where the Colorado Gives pieces come through? That makes sense.
Happy. Of course. Let me pull that slide back up just a moment. So here we go. And Heather, I just preface this by saying I love that you're able to leverage Catch a Fire. You're exactly what we're describing here. You're the example of it. You went on Catch a Fire, you got the help getting it plugged in, the data is coming in. And that's the biggest step, very honestly, because it takes time to get comfortable in GA. And let's face it, Heather, you probably don't have a lot of spare time, do you?
No, zero.
Yeah, that's how it is in every nonprofit. When I was working, I think the smallest number of additional jobs I had was at least 3. But there were some times when I had 5 additional roles that I was fulfilling at the nonprofits I was at. And so
yeah,
it makes sense that it takes time to learn, but the fact that you're collecting the data means that anytime you're free and able to, you can go and review what's been recorded.
Yeah.
And that's just serving
And
as
he
a
was like, the guy was like the world's nicest guy. He did the whole thing for me, like literally within like a couple weeks, and gave me all these tutorials. Highly recommend.
I love that. All right, here we go. Here's a sample Google Analytics report. The names have been changed to protect the innocent or whatever they say, right? So this is actual data in GA from an organization. You'll see the first thing we're going to do. Let me make sure my animations are coming in. Here we go. There's a lot of data here. I'm just going to highlight. You can change your filters here. That's all stuff you can do, but the standard presentation of this data is really helpful because it actually breaks out by channel where your traffic's coming from. So this is a great way to have visibility into where you're getting most of your users. That can help you plan tests, right? Because if you're planning a test on a channel that's not getting many users, it's probably not going to be a meaningful experiment, right? So this helps you with that. But how you get here is you open up GA and you're going to click right here. So there's home, and then this little symbol means reports. And I think Heather's doing it as we speak. So I'm going to pause here for effect. All right. Once you click the reports, there's going to be acquisition, engagement, monetization drop downs. You're going to click acquisition drop down. Then you're going to click traffic acquisition. If you need to start here reporting, this is where I would start in GA, especially for the purposes of our training today, because this is where you're going to start seeing the data you need. Now, I will then need to change the filter for my time frame. This is important. I have seen so many times, Heather, I myself have fallen prey to this, where I'm looking at a report and I'm like, what happened? Something's not working. And then I realize, oh, I didn't change my dates, right? So it's all about your date filter. You're going to want to filter to the time frame relevant for last year's year end. So I typically like to start around November 15 because we find that that's a good starting point for when people are thinking about end of year giving. And then I would push it all the way out to the 31st. If you're wanting traffic for just Give Day, then you're just going to filter to Give Day 2024, and you're going to be able to see that. Now, this presupposes something pretty important, that you are collecting GA data last Colorado Gives Day. If you weren't, don't worry. There's no time like the present to start collecting data. So get it, and then this year's Colorado Give Day will populate these reports. You can still get Colorado Gives Day data out of its own platform, like we said. You just won't get the overall website traffic numbers. All right. Then how you interpret this report, sessions represents traffic, Heather. So your sessions number, that's your traffic. That's how many visits total you had from all sources during that date range. Then, if you have the integration, then you're going to switch your event count to donation success. All right, that'll be the metric. Donation success. That's what's going to push right through. And just as a reminder for everyone, how you integrate this is very easy. You go to the integrations tab right here on the left of Colorado Gives Day, and then you connect and link your Google account. Excellent. I see some questions in the chat, but before I get to those, Heather, did that help? Any other questions on that?
No, I think that helps. Thank you.
Of course, keep the questions coming. Caitlin, we collected these donation traffic data at the beginning of the class for 2023. Can you talk a bit about how to compare our 2024 data to that and what lessons we could glean from any changes we made through this course past year? I love it. Caitlin, you did it. You did it back in 2023. So then how should you compare and what lessons can you glean? So what I love seeing, if you have it sounds like then Caitlin, so I'm clear, you have 2 give days worth of data in GA. Is that right? You can throw up an emoji or something in the chat. Yay. All right. If you have 2 days worth of give day data, what I want to see is how all those metrics compare. Did traffic go up or down? Did conversion rate go up or down? Did average gift go up or down? What's our overall revenue trend? Are we increasing or decreasing? And then I want to prioritize what I have with my limited bandwidth, the most opportunity to impact. Okay. So that then tells me where to begin testing. So I'm just going to assume here, Caitlin, because I don't know your data. So let's say that last year you had an increase in traffic from the prior year, from 2023, but you had a decrease in conversion rate. Anyone been there before? That's a very common place to be, because it's easy to get more traffic, but get unmotivated traffic, right? I'll give you an example. I've done tests where we have a really clickbaity headline, and it doesn't really tell you anything about what you're clicking on. It's just designed to get people to click. And we see a massive increase in clicks. But guess what happens to our conversion rate? Plummets, because they're not motivated to give at all. They're not even our people, right? So I'll just assume, let's say you had more traffic than 2023, but you had less gifts in 2024. I would look at that and say, you know what? Whatever we did to get traffic was not getting us the right kind of traffic. Then I would look at what we did that led to more clicks, because the data is the starting point, but it leads us to ask questions. So in this case, why did we get more traffic? Did we change something? Did we run new ads? What happened? I would take a look at those ads. And then I would ask myself, what is it in this thing that we changed that might lead to people being less motivated to give? And maybe I find we were vague in our CTA. Maybe I'll find that we didn't have enough clarity on the donation page, why someone coming from that vague CTA should give to us, right? That then leads to a test proposal. You know what? I know that we're getting more traffic and we could continue that trend, but that traffic isn't converting. So why don't we test a better top of funnel ad, if you will, that more pre-qualifies people to click through and give? That could be a test. Or the reverse. I love that I'm getting more traffic. That's the purpose of the ad. I don't want to decrease that. I want to just make sure more of those converts. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to test the donation page. I'm going to strengthen the value prop. Now, Caitlin, if I had limited time and I had to choose which of those to test myself, I always love testing value prop, because that's where people go from, sure, I'll donate. Sure, heck yes, take all of my money. I'm going to put you in my will and testament because you are doing something no one else can do. Like, that's what value prop testing gets you to. Now, most organizations with limited bandwidth reverse the priority. They say, no, I just want to test new ad creative because that's easy to spin out. I want to just test a new button color. Anyone seen button color tests? We have them in Winston. I didn't show you button color tests. You know why? Because a number of years ago, we had an expert on A/B testing come and speak at our conference. And this was his speech. He said, stop doing stupid tests. That was literally his message. Everyone was laughing as he proceeded to show the stupid tests that we do in our roles as fundraisers. And paramount test on his list was button colors. He said, guess what all these years of button color tests have shown us? If your button blends into the background and doesn't have a high contrast color, it won't work. And if you have a high contrast color, it'll work. So why are we testing this? Just put a high contrast color and it'll work. Another test he said not to do is carousels. We've all seen them on home pages where you click through a rotating list of options. And he said, stop testing carousel images. Why? This guy tests with people like BMW, Audi, Amazon. Like, he's one of the best names in the business for A/B testing. He does hundreds of thousands of samples a day in his tests, huge tests. And he said, because every time they test it, guess what? Carousels fail compared to just giving people static options. He actually in Europe tested this with, I think, BMW. And on BMW's website, you had a carousel of their different series cars, S series, whatever series. I don't have a BMW, or I know, but the different series BMWs. And they tested against that. The ugliest landing page ever on their homepage. It literally had just all 4 options on the page. So it was each option, no carousel, right there on the page. The designers at BMW hated it. He didn't care. He tested it. It was triple digit increase in clicks, sales, everything. Why? Because nobody likes carousels except marketers, right? So those are just some of the things we shouldn't test, but often get tested instead of stuff like value prop. In my world, I have found value proposition testing always leads to the biggest learnings when done right compared to these small tactics. Does it mean we never test a tactic? Sure, we test tactics. We test different styles of pop-up or impact slide out, things like that. That's fine. But no, if you really want to take a donor from yes to heck yes, it also boils on how you address value proposition. These are great questions, friends. I love that we have time to address them.
I love it. I always wondered about the carousel on the home pages. Like, does that work? Do people click on it? Turns out no.
Well, and this is what's funny, Jordan. He made an observation that I've seen literally play out almost word for word in meetings with clients we partner with across verticals. It doesn't matter if they're broadcast. It doesn't matter if they're, save the children. It doesn't matter. Across verticals, we've seen these meetings where the people in the room who are making the decision can't decide what's the most important thing to put on the homepage. Every department has their pony in the race, if you will. And as a result of that, instead of deciding which is the priority, they put them all on the homepage behind a carousel so nobody leaves unhappy from the meeting. But that's not actually providing what the visitor to the website needs.
Yeah, that's internal priorities. That's not donor priorities. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And this is where I love, Jordan, what happens when an organization embraces testing. If you embrace testing rather than saying, we can't come to a decision because we don't want to offend anyone, so we're just going to do it all, you say, why don't we ask our donors? Why don't we let our donors tell us what they prefer? And doing that requires something that we call humble swagger at Next After. Because it does take a swagger to be like, I know now what donors want. It takes kind of a boldness, right? But it also requires humility because it means you're putting out into the world something that you know may not work and you're wanting to find out if it doesn't work with data. It means as an optimizer, I find red arrows sometimes more frequently than I find green arrows. Because my hypothesis of what donors want was actually Artie's hypothesis and was grossly disconnected from what the donor actually wanted. And this is what you get to find and uncover when you embrace that humility to say, we don't know which of these 5 things should be in the carousel, but we know how to find out. We're going to start testing one against another with our donors and see what they gravitate to. Other questions? We still have some time here.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, that's totally okay. We'll give you guys a minute or 2 more to type if you're typing.
And I want to stress as we're wrapping up here, hit me up in Slack. I keep an eye on that closely. I've had great conversations with Heather and several others in their cohort, just asking really detailed in the weeds questions as they're working through the homework from the last few webinars. That's why I'm here. That's why I want to be here. I love what happens when we as fundraisers can better understand these principles and help one another to succeed. So Susan, thank you for your kind words. I'm so glad that you're getting a lot out of this. I know I am, honestly, just going through the library and finding experiments and seeing all that just it's an encouragement to me because it tells me that the world is becoming a better place. Because every time a nonprofit from any vertical gets a green arrow, it means we're unleashing more generosity, which is unleashing more positive change into the world. And I can't think of something more exciting than that. So thank you, Susan, and to everyone here for being part of that.
Artie, you're gonna make me cry. No, but I think everybody, no matter how much stress or things are on your plate, I think we all do feel that really deeply, that we are working here to help make more good happen in the world. Oh, we have a lot of thank yous. Yes, just a sincere thank you to Next After, to Nathan, to you, Artie, to your fabulous library of tests that help us not only talk about strategies, but back them up. I just can't tell you how much I've learned, and I hope, and it sounds like everybody else has learned a lot too. This is our last webinar, but like Artie said, we're not going away. And so you'll have access to all of these webinars on the nonprofit resources page. You'll also have access to Slack, probably, and Artie, you tell me if I'm incorrect, until the end of this month, as far as like conversations or reaching out to Artie. And we will also be sending an updated email to everyone just with a summary and really a thank you, and to remind everybody of the resources. So you should see that in your inbox soon, just as a wrap up for the Level Up program this year. I can't tell y'all how proud I am, and also how awesome it has been to get to know you guys on such a deep level. So I just really appreciate everybody.
And I am on LinkedIn. I'm not the most avid, active person on LinkedIn. I'll just confess that. I end up being so busy working in the actual testing that I don't have as much time on LinkedIn, but I do keep an eye on my messages. Reach out to me via email. I'd love to hear, even when this, Slack channel closes out at the end of our training here starting going into June. I'd still love to hear how you're doing. And I would love to hear how your Colorado Gives Day goes this year. I know that you're going to see more success because of the effort you're putting into it. I have no doubt about it. So when that happens and you're celebrating, selfishly, I'd love to be just able to celebrate with you and be able to cheer you on. So let me know. Ardee@nextafter.com. That's my email, ARDEE@nextafter.com. Let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you're discovering so we can cheer you on.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again. And Artie, thank you for your amazing expertise into Next After. And we will see you all online.
See you later, friends.
Bye-bye.